Q, how you been feeling?
I've been good. Very optimistic about this upcoming Bears season. Looking forward to it. We definitely got to spin back for our revenge from that 2024 debacle.
It's a lot of teams that got to run us a fade. Number one, that team in Detroit. I'm about sick of it. A lot of them dudes been getting on my nerves lately.
They chirping. That rivalry is brewing. They're chirping.
It's like they don't remember the only relevancy they had in the last 15 years was what top 5 pick are they gonna screw up next?
Yeah,
I told one of them, a podcaster for the Detroit Lions, enjoy it while it lasts because you got about 6 more months left on this train before something else comes at you. Combine's over. We've got all the prospects, majority of them, measuring in, showing you their athleticism, talking to the team, prospective teams, and the media. We got all the tape. We got all the tape and takes for that. And the NFL has released how much the new league year salary cap is going to be. So 2 dominoes has fallen for the offseason. Up next, new league year and free agency. But first, let's circle the wagons on this combine. Let's talk about something that makes me feel good, unlike where the Bears may be getting their mail in the near future. There was a lot of prospects came into Indianapolis, and a lot of prospects have left. Some of them made them some good money. Let's talk about them. Let's talk about the guys that had a good showing first. I think the number one name on everyone's lips right now, no Diddy, Shamar Stewart.
Yes, an athletic freak, but a guy who scares me. As a longtime Bear fan, we've gathered on some edge rushers that have had some great measurables at the combine. Maybe they didn't have the greatest of tape in college, but I don't know when you start watching the Bears. But do you remember Alonzo Spellman?
I definitely remember Zoe.
How about John Theory?
Nah.
Okay, John Theory was a guy Dave Wanstead absolutely loved. Picked him out of Alcorn State, top 10. Got to the combine, measured 6'4.5", 260. I think he ran a 4.59 or 4.6 at the combine. Just cut. Man, he could not play football. I think he played for the Bears and the Browns and burned out the league. And the fact that he played for the Bears and the Browns in the 90s lets you know his talent level. Shamar Stewart is a guy who really helped himself at the combine. Big, strong kid. Ran a 4.59 at 270. And Bears fans are probably getting the image of a guy who's super athletic coming off the edge. I think Khalil Mack ran a 4.62. So you're probably thinking of an athletic guy like that. And while Shamar Stewart is athletic, when I'm looking at the tape, and hopefully we get that tape out to you all soon with the breakdown, I'm looking at the tape. It's a guy that's very underdeveloped as a pass rusher. Very underdeveloped. And Bears fans, I don't know if you have the patience right now for Shamar Stewart at number 10. And with the salary cap, I don't know if the Bears have the patience for him. This is a guy who had 4.5 sacks. Not last year, his entire collegiate. And I don't know if Bears, where they're at right now, with their lack of depth and talent at the edge rush positions, are in the position to take a guy number 10 that isn't ready to step in and be a guy who can get the quarterback on the ground immediately, especially in this NFC North. We don't know what the Vikings are going to do at quarterback, but we know whatever they do at quarterback, if that guy can stand in the pocket and get the ball downfield, he's going to hurt you. He's got Jordan Addison. We saw what Jordan Addison can do last year. I think he had, what did he have, a 200-yard game against us? 180? What was?
Yeah, something like that. He tore us a new one.
Yeah, and then you got Justin Jefferson. We know what Jared Goff can do when he gets time. Jordan Love is real inconsistent, but he's a guy that can beat you downfield. So getting the quarterback on the ground is imperative to us competing in this NFC North. I don't know right now. Shamar Stewart is the guy I would want at 10, despite the combine performance. And I know there's the argument that maybe Texas A&M didn't develop him as a pass rusher, that he has loads of potential. I just don't know if he could come in year one and do it, or year two. This might be a guy that's kind of a project. I know he can set the edge. I know he can defend the run, even at the NFL level already. But there's not a lot of development as a pass rusher. He doesn't have any counter moves. On film, all I see is a guy try to beat the tackle or bull rush. And unless you're just a freak athlete like Micah Parsons, who has developed pass rush moves, you're not just going to be able to just blaze past, tackles. That's your Javon Curse. Now, he is fast. He is a great athlete. But NFL tackles, they've seen guys running in the 4.5, 4.6 range. Even guys running the 4.5, 6 range have to have counter moves. They have to have bend. I haven't seen that from Shamar Stewart.
Yeah, you said something right there I want to pick back up on. I would like to believe that the school he chose to play at plays into why his production is lacking, right?
Mm-hmm.
4.5 career sacks, opposite of Nick wasn't it Scorton?
Scorton, yeah.
Scorton. Opposite him, who's also going to be a pretty high pick in a draft.
Now, he didn't have a lot of sacks either, but he's got about 5, and he shows you a little bit more. Scorton isn't going to be drafted as high as Stewart, but he shows you a little bit more of the pass rushing technique you're looking for at the next level. Mm-hmm. In terms of the bend, in terms of the counters, a little bit more to moves, but he's not as big as a guy as Stewart. Right. I mean, Stewart has the higher ceiling. Scarton probably has the higher floor. I'll be honest with you, right now, picking either one of them at number 10 wouldn't excite me.
Neither one. His combine was legendary. A name that's been bandied about in comparison to his athletic prowess, just based on his combine, Myles Garrett.
I mean, he fits the mold. They're about the same size. They're about the same speed, but I don't. But
his vert for his guy, his size,
ridiculous.
I don't think we've ever seen anything like that.
Was it 40 or 39 and a half? 41?
I think it was in that 38, 39 range for somebody who's who weighed in at what, 260?
267. He plays around 270, yeah. And he's 21 years old. He's going to easily, that frame could add another 5 or 10 pounds.
Mm.
That is a very developed man. No Diddy. I mean, but at a Diddy party, he would be the star of the show at a Diddy party. If he walked into the Diddy party in the road, all the Diddians would want him. I don't know how you feel about it, but I don't want to gamble at this point with the Bears pick. I think if you're early in a rebuilding phase and you've identified your quarterback, it's okay to gamble. You're not expected to do much. Mm-hmm. If you're maybe a team like the Bills or the Ravens or the Eagles, you're picking at the end of the draft, you got good players in front of them. This is a gamble you could take. The Eagles did that a couple of years ago. Jalen Carter had character issues, and they picked him. And then at the end of the first round, they picked the guy Nolan Smith, who didn't profile as an edge or off-ball linebacker, but was transitioned to become an edge. And he didn't show much his rookie year, and he didn't show much initially his second year, but he became more of a force towards the back end of last year and in the playoffs. Teams like that are in position to take guys like Shamar Stewart. Shamar Stewart is a dangerous player for teams in the top 10 to take.
Agreed. And I would be. I don't want to be too. I don't want to go too far with it, right? But I would be a little upset. Maybe upset's a little bit too far. I would be I have concerns about the Bears moving in that direction in number 10. I think, as you said, luxury pick. This guy's a project. We've already got
Yes.
one too many projects on the roster already. Not it. These are valuable picks right now. This is a very important draft.
Yeah.
Even though we extended, our general manager, his job
Pose is not in position to take another
line.
project. That's
Right.
the other thing. Pose is not in position to take another project.
Even though he got that contract extension, I do not believe his job is on stable ground. He needs to hit this draft out the park, and I do agree that Shamar Stewart at all the potential in the world, but there's too many question marks about the production, right? You can put some blame on the scheme at Texas A&M or just their lack of developing and showcasing their guys. That's a bit above my pay grade. I don't know. All I see is production, which is not sexy at all, and I see the raw freak ability, which is I mean that's super sexy, but I mean it's Rihanna level sexy.
And the film he's not getting to the quarterback. I know PFF says he gets some more hurries, some more pressures, and I understand that. I don't discount getting pressures, but at a certain level, okay, if you get 6 sacks in your 13-14 game collegiate season, but you have a lot of pressures, I'm going to, say, hey, you know what? Maybe in a better scheme, maybe with better interior rushers where the quarterback can't step up. But 1.5 sacks per year, that's dangerous.
Who else had a good weekend?
The funny thing is, I think the last time I was on the show, I talked about getting a vertical threat downfield. And I think I identified Isaiah Bond from Texas.
Mm-hmm.
And Isaiah Bond, I said he's a guy that I would love in the day 2 or in the 3rd round. Is 3rd round a day 2 pick or day 3 pick? They do the 2nd or 3rd round on day 2?
I think
or just the 2nd round on day 2?
3rd, and 4th.
Okay. He's a guy I love as a day 2 pick just because he brings that verticality. He's a deep ball threat. And he came in talking that ish, said he was going to break Xavier Worthy record. He's this fast, and he ran a 4.39. The funny thing is, people called him a loser of the combine because he read. Now listen, 4.39 is nothing to sneeze at. If a 4.39 guy lined up on the field is probably going to be one of the fastest, if not the fastest guy of the 22 men on the field. But his teammate Matthew Golden ran a 4.29. So that is one of the winners. That is one of the guys to look at. I want to identify Will Campbell as another guy who won. What did Will Campbell measure? 6'6", 6'7"?
Yes, 330, 6'7". The arms are still shorter than what you would like for a tackle, right?
Yeah.
That all came to play. But we talk a lot, right? And usually when we get on the phone, we'll talk and mess around, be a 90-minute conversation about football. Just back and forth, players who we like, who we don't like, blah, 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 blah. We talked about Will Campbell at Nas. We had at least 3 different conversations about Will Campbell. And I think most of them we were seeing the same thing. Like, man, I don't really like his feet, man. I think he's a little slow out the box. What did those feet do this weekend?
They ran a 4.9. They ran a 4.9. So I think he answered a lot of questions about his athleticism. Mm-hmm. And he even discussed his arm length when he was questioned about it. He said they never stopped him before. He said, put on the tape. I'm in the SEC. I faced a lot of top edge rushers, and my arms did just fine. So I like that out of him. But I don't think he's getting past the Patriots at number 4. I think he profiles to what Vrabel wants, and I think he'll be gone before we can even select him. So I don't even think we have to worry about Will Campbell. If he's at number 10, I'll take him. Little arms and all, I'll deal with it. I've heard some people say maybe he doesn't become a left tackle at the next level. Maybe he's a right tackle. If you could be a right tackle that gives me a decade and a couple Pro Bowls, that's fine if you're not left tackle. I've heard some people say guard. I think a guard is 6'7". That's a little crazy. You want those guys to be a little bit more compact in that interior.
Don't the defending champs have a guard that's 6'7"?
Man, the defending champs got giants all on that offensive line. So maybe we got to get out of that traditional way of thinking. You're right. So, I mean, everybody, I think everybody in the offensive line is Cam Jurgens the little guy at 6'3", 320 on that line?
I think so.
I think he's the little guy. He's the center. So, yeah, but I don't know. I think Will Campbell, if you compare him to Braxton Jones, I think he would be an upgrade right now. So if he falls at number 10, I would take him. Who's more likely to fall at number 10? Another guy whose stock kind of rose, Armand Memble from Missouri. Also a big guy, but the thing that scouts are concerned with is he only measures 6'3". I can't think of a left tackle. Is there a left tackle in this league starting at only 6'3"? Would he be the shortest left tackle in this league currently?
He will be on the shorter side. So Mr. Nimble, what else about him? I don't remember much about what's going on. I got another guy who, in fact, before we go too far into Nimble, let's get back to Will Campbell. Like, let's just say if he is at 10, you said you would love for the Bears to get to him, right?
I'll take him. If he's at number 10, yeah.
No more equivocation. Will Campbell. I think there's some people that I've listened to that after this weekend, they've got Will Campbell as the number one tackle or number one offensive lineman in the draft now. Like, remember coming into this, he was like 3 or 4. And
yeah, there was a lot of people saying Kelvin Banks ahead of him.
Yeah. I still think Joshua Simmons out of Ohio State, he's got the best tape out of anybody.
And now, might have the best value out of anybody because he's going to still be there at 10, and you might be able to trade down and still get him because of the medical.
Now, Will Campbell, he's healthy. If Josh Simmons, because he got hurt, you got to put him in that same category as a project, right?
Only 20 years old, also. He's young.
Only 20 years old. You might have to wait for him because he got hurt. I think did he
tore his ACL, right?
He tore his ACL. I believe that was not the current injury. I think it's a patella tendon.
Right. I knew it was something with the knee.
I think he's currently he had more than just one injury on his in his jacket right now. So
that's
Josh Simmons. There's, like you said, Kelvin Banks was probably the number one. Josh Simmons, got the best tape out of anybody.
If healthy, he might be the best overall talent at tackle. He doesn't. I think he has all the measurables you want: size, weight, arms, athleticism. While Will ran real fast, I don't know if Will looks like that fluid of an athlete on tape. Now, he's a very good tackle. I don't know if he's quite as athletic as Simmons in terms of just moving and bending. Will Campbell, he could get better in his bending and his leverage.
If I'm not mistaken, Simmons had an ACL injury before. Right now, he's nursing a messed up patella tendon, which I think is patella tendon, which I think is more serious than the previous ACL injury, right? Especially for a tackle. You got to be able to plant. You got to be able to move those feet and engage when necessary. I think he's got the best tape out there. I agree with you. He's probably the best athlete as a tackle in this whole draft. But let's say the doctors clear him and everything. I'm sure they will. I'm sure everybody's good on him, and because he's still going to be drafted in the first round.
Oh yeah.
Would you like him? And Campbell falls to 10, and Simmons is still there. Which one you taking?
I have to have a long talk with my medical team. First of all, I'd have to meet Josh Simmons on my pro day. I'd have to be 100% have assurance that this injury isn't going to linger and that he'll be ready at 100% at some point this season, preferably in training camp. And I agree with you. The patella tendon is a more serious injury than the ACL now. Guys tear ACLs and come back running 4.3 like it's nothing now. You know, for a young guy, you know, they tear ACLs. They give you it's like Tommy John now. You tear it, they give you a new one, and within 10 months, you back new. The patella, the patella's a bigger tendon and obviously very important to the knee functionality too. Patella tendon seems like it's a tougher rehab now. I don't know, maybe because the ACLs are so common and you see people bounce back all the way. Patella tendon is still one of those injuries like Achilles where you kind of never know how the guy's going to come back. Now,
Right.
Josh Simmons has one advantage under his belt. He's only 20, 21 years old. So you expect a full recovery. If they're both at number 10, I got to take the healthy guy, Will Campbell. All things being equal, if they were both at 100% health, I'd lean towards Josh Simmons. I know this sounds crazy, but you look at the competition, the edge rush she faced at the Big Ten level, he probably saw a better crop of edge rushers than Will Campbell did.
I mean, that's not shocking to me. The Big Ten is like it's basically what do you call it? It's like the G League, basically. I mean, it's not college football to be honest anymore. It's not college football. It is a level ahead. It is basically minor league NFL.
How many teams do they buy in there? I mean, I looked last year, and I still couldn't rationalize Washington, Oregon, and USC being in the Big Ten. And this is after Maryland and Rutgers joined. That still blows my mind. So, I mean, they're truly a super conference. This isn't your Big Ten of the 90s where you saw Tyrone Wheatley and Keyjana Carter in 3-4 yards in a cloud of dust. You know, I mean, there's fantastic athletes. It's an up-tempo conference now. So, with some of the best athletes, you know, guys like Micah Parsons. Here's a guy I know you'd love for him to fall to number 10, but stress reaction in his foot aside, we know we're not getting Abdul Carter.
Yeah,
you got guys like
great segue. We talking about injuries. Abdul Carter, he didn't do anything this weekend, right? Because again, he's presumed number 1 draft pick, but he's got that stress fracture rather in his foot, and I think it's important to point out that it's on the outer bone of the foot, but around the baby toe. That's key. If when you got to plant, you get around somebody, you got to plant, and you got to push off, and you want to accelerate, make that next move, accelerate to that quarterback. That's what you're doing. You're doing it on the outside part of your foot. That part has got to be healthy. If you draft somebody at top 5, because he's the top 3-ish pick, regardless, right? You draft somebody, you put somebody that type, you give somebody that type of draft, you spend that type of draft money on a prospect, and he's got these question marks, man, you better hope. You better hope that it pays off, that he gets that thing looked at, he gets cleared, get that surgery, whatever's necessary. Because, man, if he's healthy, I like that name you used, Micah Parsons level. There's another guy who was hurt and failed, and now look at him. You know, he didn't have the greatest season this past season, but Micah Parsons is making everybody look stupid for passing on him.
He went number 11. Yeah. And I loved him coming out of Penn State. And I think one of the reasons he fell to number 11 is because the league, you got to remember, Micah Parsons coming out of Penn State was playing linebacker, off-ball linebacker. And the league doesn't value off-ball linebackers. Micah Parsons was even a guy that, and this was silly to me, people were talking about he could play safety. You don't take that type of athlete, that type of size, and put him that far away from the line of scrimmage. But, I'd like to also talk about 2 other prospects and kind of check your temperature on these guys. Because there's one guy that had a very good showing too, James Pierce Jr. Now we get into the character issues. Ran a 4.47. And he's had the production that you look for. He's a guy, sophomore year, as a true sophomore, had 10 sacks. Had 7.5 sacks last year. You turn on this film, and this is a long, lean, classic modern-day edge rusher. I mean, when he comes around the corner, he's got the bend like Robert Quinn. Robert Quinn, the guy, had 19.5 sacks for us. That's what I look at when I look at him coming around the corner. The ability to get small and still have that speed upfield. That is enticing as a pass rusher. He's a little small. I mean, in terms of weight, maybe doesn't set the edge great yet. But if you can give me 10 sacks, I can scheme around you not being the greatest run defender. I want to check your temperature on James Pierce Jr. and some of the issues with him.
Now, I'm not very versed in James Pierce Jr. I don't watch as much college ball or tape as much as you, but I will ask this one question so I can give you a proper answer. Who is the better, I guess, front seven guy or edge?
He's got the build. He could probably add a few more pounds to his frame, but in terms of the modern day edge, long, lanky, fast. I mean, I've heard comparisons in terms of just the raw athletic ability to Javon Curse. Sorry,
Javon Curse, the original freak.
The original freak. I mean, he's there. Now, he didn't jump well, which is kind of strange because the guy that runs 4.47, you would think his vertical would be better than 31 inches. Maybe he just doesn't know how to jump. I don't know.
Okay, so that answers my question. So you would take Mr. Pierce before you would take Michael Green.
Mike Green might even be. Well, Mike Green played at
another guy with some question marks on him.
Man, he's got more question marks than Pierce. You got 2 sexual assaults in your background. That's two.
I thought it was, oh shit.
So he had one in high school.
I know about that one.
Yeah, a lot of people didn't know about that. So he had one in high school, and he was cleared of that one. Then remember, Pierce went to a bigger school before he landed at Marshall.
I think he was at Virginia Tech. Yeah, Virginia Tech.
And then he had a sexual assault allegations there too. And then he just left and started over at Marshall. That is very scary. And the thing is, Mike Green is probably the best pass rusher in this draft. Now, sometimes, I mean, you got to question the competition a little bit. But it's like when Khalil Mack was coming out, I said, you look at this guy and what he's doing to, Khalil Mack came out of Buffalo. You look what he was doing to those guys, and it's still an FBS school. Mike Green is still going against other FBS talent. Maybe it's not SEC, Big Ten, old, what was the conference that USC and Oregon ran, old Pac-12 talent. But these are still, good football players. And if he could do that to them, even guys at the next level, he's probably going to be able to have success at. So Mike Green might be the best natural edge rusher in this class from what I've seen, him and James Pierce. But boy, those two, no. I'm sorry. Outside of Abdul Carter, I'm not putting either. I'm not including Abdul Carter in possible Bears targets. There's no way he's going to end up at 10 unless he probably kills somebody or beats his girlfriend up the night before a draft or gets caught smoking meth
or drag race.
Hey, if you got to, I hate to be that guy, but I would love for Abdul Carter to go to jail for drag racing and slip to number 10. Boy, I'm looking for guys like that to go to jail at this time. Please, somebody arrest him. Maybe plant some crack cocaine on him.
Ryan Poles already showed you that drag racing is, it's one of those things.
Man, Ryan Poles better get himself together.
I don't want to poo-poo that somebody did die at that drag race.
R.I.P. to them.
Yeah, R.I.P. But Ryan Poles, I think we understand what Ryan Poles is at with when it comes to character issues. Now, somebody did die,
but here's the thing. I got to interrupt. Do you have you have a car with heated seats?
I do.
You know how when you first turn on the car, you can't feel the seat warming up. Then you're like, "Ooh, that's kind of." Ryan, you want a heated seat that is not hot yet. The car just started, but it's getting toasty. Your buns are getting warm. You're not on that Eberflus seat yet, but your buns are getting warm. You better get over whatever you get character issues. I mean, it's a gamble, but hey, all I'm saying is. I don't know. That number two, Mike Green scares me. 2 sexual assault allegations is terrifying because, where there's smoke, there's fire. What are you doing, buddy? Like,
for everything I heard, about what was going on between him and his interviews this past weekend at the combine is that he was very upfront. He was very contrite, and he did what exactly these team officials were looking for from him. He didn't duck no punches. He didn't run for anything. He said, it wasn't me, whatever. I don't know what happened. I don't know guilty or not guilty. I don't know anything about that. In at least in his situation. But everything I heard, he checked the boxes on the questions that they had for him. I would just put that out there.
Yeah, and James Pierce's character issues, they don't involve beating up women or not understanding no. They said he didn't interview well. And, I don't know if you know about his past, but he got arrested after a traffic stop. And there's not a lot of information on it. The charges ended up getting dropped.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if teams are doing their due diligence or being too picky. But James Pierce's character issues don't seem like crazy to me. He didn't interview well, but I think they said the same thing with Carter, that he didn't interview well before the draft. So I don't know. Maybe James Pierce is a safer pick than Mike Green. Mike Green, I love the talent. I do, and sometimes you gotta overlook character issues. But at number 10, I don't know if I'm willing to take Mike Green. He might be a guy. The possibility the Bears trading down could happen, or in the second round. I would, if Mike Green isn't there on the second round, I'm willing to take a flyer on him.
I've got a guy who I think I don't want to say that he was definitely a winner for the weekend. I don't want to say he was the winner because I think Shamar Stewart definitely is the winner. It's a guy with 4.5 sacks and is now being talked about in the first a day one pick. I think that's yeah, he's the Anthony Richardson of this draft so far. But there's another guy. There's another guy who made him some good money this weekend.
I think I know you're going to bring up.
I don't think you do. But Tar Heel, Omarian Hampton, Q.
Like him. I like him. I've seen the tape. He looks like a number one running back. See nothing wrong with him.
Let me tell you what this is. This dude had a hell of a weekend. He ran a 4.46 40. He weighs in at he weighs in at 221. He had a 10-10 broad jump.
Jesus.
You know the name that sounds like, and I'm not saying his career is going to look like this. I'm not saying that he plays like this, but that type of athleticism, that type of build, that type of force you can generate, Saquon Barkley.
Here's the thing about Omarian Hampton. If this were 1997, even 2007, he would be a guy that wouldn't last past 15.
97, he's going. he's going top 5.
Top 5. Yeah. 2007, he's still going top 15. Omarian Hampton film looks good. He looks like a 4.47. He looks like a 202. Sometimes you get guys who run at these combines, they don't look that 4.47. Right. Omarian looks fast, and he's a name that's been linked to the Bears. And
and
this is a good segue into the Ashton Johnson debate. He did not run at the combine. I like Ashton Johnson. And I've dived into the Omarian Hampton film. I've dived into the Ashton Johnson film. I've looked a lot at Travion Henderson and Quinshawn Junkins, guys who ran real well too. I know he ran for a lot of yards. I have questions about Johnson's long speed. I don't know if you've seen it.
Yeah, I think he's more of a bruiser, but at 5'8", how much bruising can you do? And
well, the thing about Johnson is great contact balance, and I don't think he'll be running people over at the NFL level, but I still think he'll be able to bounce off tackles and get forward. But I'm concerned at 5'8", 212 if he doesn't have that breakaway speed.
Right. You got to have breakaway speed. At that size, you got to be able to get away from people. Because at this league, you will definitely not make your second contract at 5'8", 212 if you can't get out in the open field and get away from guys because you will be broken down. And if I draft you in the top 13, where Ashton Jonty is projecting.
Oh, with the running back, you got to run like Barkley did. You got to run like Omarian Hampton did.
Yeah.
Jonty profiles. This is a good running back, but I see a lot of David Montgomery in him. Not as much shiftiness. He's more decisive, getting upfield. I see a lot of David Montgomery. David Montgomery is not what you want to draft. We drafted David Montgomery in the 3rd round. I'm not saying he's not a better prospect than David Montgomery, but I see a lot of David Montgomery. If we bring up a pro comparison, a guy who, is physical. David Montgomery is what, 5'10", 5'11"?
About 5'11".
Okay. And about 220. Yeah. So he's about a couple inches taller and 10 pounds heavier. But I see a lot of David Montgomery. So I know you are firmly against drafting a running back at 10.
So here's that. Yes, I think a running back is a luxury pick, and I am firmly against luxury picks for the Bears, especially from this general manager. He's done it enough. You don't do it again. You do it again. I'm sending more hate mail towards Hallis Hall. So
let Ben Johnson pick out his GM. He does it again.
Here's the thing. Omarian had such a good weekend. Actually, Jonty is not the clear-cut number 1 running back. I think there's a discussion that needs to be had.
Yeah, but Jonty's production and his collegiate profile, he's still going to get drafted above Omarian Hampton. The fear I have, I was a Omarian Hampton fan. The fear I have is, I thought maybe at a point in January, I'm like, maybe the Bears can get him in the 3rd round. I don't think that's at all a possibility anymore.
No.
Now I wonder.
There's at least if you listen to Big G, who says there's going to be 10 running backs drafted in the first 2 rounds, I think there's going to be at least 4.
Yeah, I don't think there's going to be
10. First round. No, it's not. Big G's, he's doing a thing.
Yeah. Because I just think in this era, there's still, Bucky Irvin was a very good running back prospect last year, and he lasted the 5th round. I think even we can recognize these guys' talent. We can. Mm-hmm. But there's going to be, it's safe to say there's going to be 10 offensive linemen picked in the 1st round.
Mm-hmm. No, in the 1st round, 10 offensive linemen?
Yeah, guard, tackles. There's going to be 10.
In the 1st round?
Yeah, at least 8.
I would feel more comfortable saying 6, 7, maybe.
So Will Campbell, Kelvin Banks, Armand Memble, Big Tyler Booker, that's 4.
Right, that's right.
Josh Simmons, that's 5. Those are 5 surefire guys that are going in the 1st round.
Right.
And I think there's a kid from OSU that should go. So
yeah, OSU's got 2 guys that should go in the 1st round. Okay,
so that's 7 right there. And I'm sure I'm blank 6. That's 6. I'm sure I'm blanking on a couple. And then I keep telling people, I think I've told you, don't be surprised if 4 quarterbacks go in the 1st round. I don't think they're deserving. I don't think they're deserving at all. But I think we've had these conversations. I've had these conversations with you and other friend groups that a quarterback is inexplicably going to shoot up the draft boards. I said it's either going to be Jackson Dart or Jalen Milroe. You saw what Jackson Dart had at the combine. He's the buzz. I saw a mock draft today with him going in the top 10.
Let's make this our last winner of the weekend. Quarterback, because this definitely applies to the Bears, because we possibly might need some help from quarterback needy teams to do the dummy and draft a day 2 guy in the top 10.
It'll happen.
9, so you brought him up, Jackson Dart. He played at 3 different schools, if I remember correct, right? USC, Oklahoma, I think. And
I just know him from Ole Miss. I saw him playing when I started watching college football. I started watching college football right before bowl season, and I saw him at Ole Miss. And then I kept hearing about, watch this guy from Ole Miss, and I saw him, and I thought, like, he's a gamey quarterback. Has some moxie. They love that word. But moxie will get you drafted way higher than what you should. I hate the word moxie, by the way, because moxie is the right reason we left with Cade McNown. I hate that word moxie. I think Mitch had moxie. I don't know what moxie is. and I don't want to, in this political environment, I don't want to say this. I'm going to say it because I say it anyways. Moxie is something that is always given to a white quarterback with subpar intangibles to cover up for what he doesn't have. I'll say it. So Jackson Dart is 6'1", decent arm, not the greatest arm, but he's got moxie. Listen.
I mean, moxie is a tangible thing to have for a quarterback. Am I not? Am I right? Because you got had to be a leader of men.
What black quarterback has had moxie?
Russell Wilson.
There's my point. And he's got curly hair. He definitely has strong colonizer hair in his blood genes. So, I mean, there you go. And he talks like a colonizer. So, yeah, they gave Russell the moxie. I can see Russell 15 years ago, because he's not a MAGA guy, but he would be at a young Republican convention. That's what he would be, with a young Candace Owens and impressing the elite.
Sierra not letting him go out like that, man. But
no, that's why I said 15 years ago, before he met her. He would have been at a young Republican national convention. So yeah, with Jackson Dart,
I bet he was offered too.
Oh, yeah, Wisconsin, he definitely was there. And he's a devout Christian, so he definitely profiles as a young Republican. But yeah, getting off topic. But yeah, guys are gonna shoot up, and Jackson Dart, big winner.
Jackson Dart, if you for those who are not unfamiliar, Jackson Dart was the starting quarterback at USC before Caleb got there. Caleb forced him to transfer.
Yeah, he ran away. He didn't even want to compete.
Exactly. Because he already knew what it was. So if you use that as your barometer about where Jackson Dart might be as a pro quarterback, remember, he already knew he couldn't play over Caleb. So, and then Caleb came in and then won a Heisman. So yeah, there you go.
So Omarian Hampton, I don't know if you've seen his tape at North Carolina. He looks really good. He's a smooth running back. He's got everything that you look for in a running back. I mean, he's got the speed to take away angles. Shout out to Eddie Jackson, who was horrible with angles, but he's got the speed to take away angles. He's also got the power to run through tackles, not just Eddie Jackson tackles. He runs through tackles. He's got shiftiness. Yeah, he's got shiftiness. He's got patience. He's got vision. You brought up Saquon Barkley. I saw also a little bit of, and I think this guy's a little overrated, but I saw the patience of Le'Veon Bell as well when I looked at his film. Le'Veon Bell, even though I think he's a little bit overrated, he was a guy that had great patience and knew when to pick the hole and to, get upfield. Omarian has everything. In a fair world, I would vouch for your what you said about him moving up ahead of Ashton Johnson, but I think Ashton Johnson's still going to get that. But at 41, if Omarian Hampton is still there, are you taking him?
Oh, I'm definitely taking him. And here's the thing, and I think you asked this question earlier. And I bullshit around. I didn't answer it. Where would I be welcoming of a running back being drafted? Maybe number 10 or 41, our second pick. At 41, I would not be bothered by it because for two reasons. One is, I think Omarian Hampton is a guy. I think he's
a year one guy.
Yeah, I think he's not a jag, not just a guy. I think he's a dude. I think I would do that. You want to draft dudes. I think the Bears are in a position where they cannot go get just plug holes that they have. I think they need to stack talent on top of talent and just let the chips fall where they may. And Omarian Hampton is a dude. You want dudes, more dudes in that locker room, right? So I would take that. And I'm assuming the Bears did their due diligence during free agency and they fixed a lot of their offensive line woes that they're not bringing Omarian Hampton into a situation that they brought Caleb Williams into last year. Like they They already admitted that they skipped some steps with Caleb Williams, and they don't want to repeat that same malfeasance, that same dereliction of duty that they did with another young player. That would be like the 8th fireable offense for Ryan Poles, if you're keeping tally. But now let's go back to the other part. Number 10. If they drafted, let's say, Ashton Genty at number 10, one word, and I'm gonna ask you, what's one word that you would it will come to you if they did that? One word that would come to me is I'll be disappointed. No, I'll be disappointed because it tells me that this is still the same old Bears. New coach, a lot of rah-rah. We think it's going to be a new era. Same old Bears. You putting the cart before the horse. Again, I'm assuming, I would like to believe the Bears did their thing in free agency and fixed at least 3 spots on the offensive line. Maybe got Dalton, maybe got a couple of the guards, and whomever the case may be. I'm assuming they did that. Even still, number 10 is too rich for a running back. And at that point, I will put away the proposal to build the Ben Johnson statue, and I'll put that away, and I will pull out the piece of paper and I start writing down reasons why I want Ben Johnson fired.
Listen, I would be slightly disappointed if we took. I think Gentry's going to be a good player at the next level. Mm-hmm. I do. However, me talking about him and saying maybe he's not the fastest guy, that's not saying he's not going to be a really good player. I think he's going to be a really good player. Mm-hmm. But if you're going to sell me on a running back at number 10, it's got to be kind of generational.
Yeah.
I don't. He's got to be. He's got to do what Jahmyr Gibbs does for the Lions. And Jahmyr Gibbs is just a game changer. I think Jonty is a very good player. I think he'll probably go to a couple Pro Bowls. I don't know if he's just a game changer. He reminds me a lot of Emmitt Smith too. And that's not a bad comparison. I'm just talking about running stylistically. But Emmitt Smith wasn't the fastest guy. Now, Emmitt Smith is arguably, one of the greatest running backs ever play. And if Ashton Jonty can do that, that would justify number 10. But I'm just saying that running style, being that size, being that speed, there's enough questions to say maybe he's not worth number 10, especially in today's NFL where, edge rushers, quarterbacks, tackles, those are the build of your team. That's how the Chiefs are great. They got those 3 positions right. That's how the Eagles are great. They got those positions right. And then not only that, but to your point of you think Omarian Hampton might have leaped over Ashton Jonty. I just feel there's plenty of running backs to get in this draft. And at number 10, you're not getting the value for the number 10th overall pick. That's my issue.
I could have said it better. Let's talk about some guys that didn't do well this weekend. Some guys who lost some money.
The whole tight end group was kind of underwhelming. So some of the guys that I thought I wasn't impressed with the tight end group, mainly because the top 2 guys didn't run or perform. Tyler Warren and Colson Loveland, respectively.
That's what I'm thinking about.
They didn't run the 40s. I think they might have measured and worked out. Now Warren is going to be. I've heard Warren name bouncing around in the top 10. I've heard. I don't think he's going to go top 10 because I don't think he's Bowers, but he's going to be a first-round pick. Colson Loveland, I think he's going to be one. One of the guys that I thought lost, and I focus on this position group with this trait specifically because I think with a Ben Johnson offense, you're going to need this, was Tez Johnson from Oregon. I don't know if you're familiar with him. He came in. We knew he wasn't that tall, but he was a burner. That's what we felt. I wondered about his long speed looking at his tape at Oregon because he seemed like a guy that, even though he was kind of a game breaker and a dangerous guy with the ball in his hands, I didn't see him really separating deep in man coverage like I wanted to. So he came in, I think he weighed in at 155 pounds at 5'9", and then he ran a 4.56. That he definitely lost money because at 155 pounds, you're the size of most women. there's women on 79th that outweigh you and might give you a hell of a fight. The guy came in weighing 155, standing 5'9", and ran a 4.56. So I immediately moved him off of my list for guys that I would have liked day 2, day 3 for the Bears to pick up to fill that vertical threat position that we kind of need. So that's a guy that lost money to me. Caleb Johnson, another big running back, he ran 4.57. I guess that's not really noteworthy. That's what you expect a big back to run. But I think Omarian Hampton definitely. Caleb Johnson. I don't know if you know about Caleb Johnson from Iowa. He came in, and most people had him as a second running back in the class. I think he's a good third or fourth now.
Tyler Booker.
Oh, Booker, yeah, he did not measure. It wasn't. He's a big, nasty guy. But yeah, they're talking about day 2 now. And the thing is,
yeah.
I still like him though. I still like him. He. I think he ran pretty slow, and I don't need my.
Yeah, I think he had a below, but I think he had an underwhelming showing in almost everything he did, including the interview.
That's the issue. That's the issue. It's not just the speed. Mm-hmm. It's that he didn't have any good measurables.
Right.
Athletically, I don't even know if he lifted well. Let me see what his because he ran slower than I thought he would run. And you don't need a guy to be black, but 5'4", that's kind of underwhelming, especially if we're going to be having you pull and get in space. How are you going to get to that second level? I don't need him to run sub 5, but maybe a 5'1", 5 flat, 5'2".
I think Tyler Booker was a back end first rounder when he came into the combine.
There were some mocks that had him going number 10 to us. That's not going to happen.
No, he's not beating those accusations right now. He's going day 2, somewhere in the second. Yeah, he had a below average workout, and not all around. His speed wasn't good. His movement was terrible.
21 reps at 225 isn't bad. But I think we expected more from a guy his size.
21 isn't bad. No.
For a guy his size with his athletic makeup and build as a mauler, you want to see those guys go 27 and up. So I mean, your build is a mauler. Now, if you were a center or guard in that vein where your selling point is your athleticism, I can make do with 21 reps, especially if you're a center. But to be a mauler, I mean, he talked really good. I mean, he talked about, his style is to make a guy not want to play in football anymore, not like football anymore. And his tape is good.
Mm-hmm.
And, guys, programs talk up their guys, but they go out of their way to talk about what a leader Tyler Booker is.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, he's from Alabama, so I mean that's you expect that type of stuff. And again, I do want to point out Alabama, they don't just have guys out there coaching football. They have guys who run PR as well. I mean, Tyler Booker, you hear that he's a great leader, he's a great locker room guy, and all of those may be true, but you got to.
I tend to believe it, and he's fiery. And when you turn on the film, he's nasty. He finishes blocks. Mm-hmm. However, and I think he will be a starter. At the next level.
He's a starter.
For sure.
He just lost some money this weekend. So
he lost the money this weekend. And to be honest, in all fairness, where the Bears are picking it, and for those of you listening to this show, when we talk about these guys, sometimes you have to point out the negatives, and the negatives don't mean they're not going to be good football players. But when you're picking in the top 10, you got to remember, we've gotten guys like Urlacher at number 9. Khalil Mack was number 5. When you're picking in the top 10, you want a guy who's going to be not just a good football player, but a cornerstone for your organization. So Tyler Booker not only lost money, but he doesn't look like the cornerstone of an offensive line. He looks like a guy that'll be available when the Bears pick again in the second round.
So our second round pick, Tyler Booker?
If he's still there, yeah, I go for it. I think he's the guy that's going to be a surefire starter, but he's just not a guy that you can afford to take in that first round when you're looking for blue chip talent. If that's how I put it.
Yeah, I can go with that. That's good.
I
You
heard
did
he
you did hypothesize Omarion, Omarion being around that same spot. Omarion or
man,
Booker.
I would love if Marion was there. I love both those kids from Ohio State too. But this is a great class for, and I agree with you. Marion made him some money, and I think in a fair world, you do have to question if he left over Ashton Johnson. I just feel like the Ashton Johnson hype train is just so far ahead. They're not going to let Hampton catch it. Just like with Jahmyr Gibbs and Bijan Robinson. Right now, Jahmyr Gibbs might be a better player than Bijan, but he wasn't catching the Bijan hype train in that 2023 draft. I wanted to discuss maybe one more riser, and maybe this isn't a position of need, but this is a position of concern. I don't know if you looked at the Nick Emenwari combine, the safety from South Carolina. Start watching a little bit of him last year. He made a lot of money too. Give you a little background for him. He's a guy that has positional versatility in that he can line up in the box. He's 6'3", 225. I think he had 5 picks last year and took 2 of them to the house. Safety ran a 4.38 at 230. He looks a little stiff in coverage to me, but they're talking about him maybe the first safety off the board and being in the top 20 picks. I don't know if you feel like safety is a thing that the Bears need right now.
No, I definitely want them to address safety this offseason.
How early?
Good question. I don't think there's a surefire bona fide safety is going to be available in free agency. At least not I don't know about right now.
Do you like Javon Holland?
I think
he's only 25 still.
If we handle our business in free agency, right, and we do our homework and clean up our room, we can go outside and play. We can go holler at the ice cream truck. That means we can go get running backs, get safety, stuff like that.
Bears picked 39th and 41st.
I definitely think we do need to address it at some point. Brisker showed us that, his health is tenuous. I mean, at best. And we know Bird is already 32 now. So
he's 32. Yeah, Bird will be 32, coming off a average year.
You ask how early do I think the Bears should address it? At 10, I think, like you said, there's going to be too many offensive linemen available at that or in that round, especially. But at 10, I think you need to focus in on fixing a desperate need. Again, I mean, the Bears, like I said earlier, the Bears need as many dudes as they can get. And I think there's a lot of offensive line dudes. There's legit starters all up and through the first round, and there's legit starters for the either side of the ball for a lineman at 39 and 41. Now, however, I mean, if Omarion falls to you, you gotta flip a coin.
I'm taking him.
I mean, I wouldn't be upset because I think he's a dude, and I think he's a starter. Right, you can go ahead and get rid of DeAndre Swift.
I think he's a dude year one. I think he's a dude that could be a Pro Bowler year one.
Too much dip on your chip, but I do like what we could do.
I mean, running back come in right away and they do their thing though.
And I do think he's a little bit more versatile than Johnty, so he might be able to do something with that. So I wouldn't be upset.
You're gonna upset the portion of the fan base that wants Johnty, the Johnty truther.
I'm not concerned with that portion of the fan, but safety, third round, fourth round, we got an extra 6th round pick this year. So, I mean, we can address safety in that sweet spot. You can get a decent safety at 3rd round. I think we drafted Eddie Jackson at 3rd round, didn't we? 4th. I mean, Eddie Jackson, he went to a couple of Pro Bowls. He was He did have some good seasons. I was never the biggest fan, and I don't need to go on a tangent about it now.
You never were.
No, never were. But I do think there's a starter to be had at that position in the run. And if the Bears don't address safety this offseason, I mean, it's not the end of the world. But I do think they are kicking the can down the road.
Yeah, I agree. I like Malachi Starks. We get into that another time, but yeah, I agree. There's no reason to address it at 10. It's not even a guy at number 10 that's worthy of being drafted, right, despite how much hype Nick Emirari generated. And I think second round is probably too early for us to address that position as well.
Right.
Might be time for free agency the next.
Yep, you're right. It is March now. Free agency starts March 12th. So
the tampering period starts. The legal tampering starts when?
March 10th.
Yeah.
The next episode
big middle finger to the Chiefs. Big middle finger to the Chiefs. That was so corny.
Yeah. I hated them. So we got free agency coming up on the horizon. We got some film. We're gonna do some film stuff. And then we'll ride this way. And we definitely got to get into the Bears possibly leaving Chicago and going to Arlington Heights. But all of that in the future episodes. So stay locked in with the Frustrated Chicago Sports Fan channel. Say bye, Q.
Bear down.
Thanks for listening to this latest edition from the Frustrated Chicago Sports Fan channel. Whether you listen to this on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or watching on YouTube, make sure you like, subscribe, share with a friend, and hit the notification bell so you never miss a drop. And all my homies from Chicago, we say three things: bear down, go Cubs go, and sell the team, Jerry.